Feed the starving dragon. Marcus wiped the sweat from his forehead as he walked home from the market. The small mining colony of Haven's Rest wasn't much to look at, but it was home. Dust swirled around his worn boots as he carried the bag of groceries his mother had asked him to pick up. At 15, he was old enough to help with errands, especially since his father worked double shifts in the titanium mines. The sun was setting behind the jagged mountains that surrounded their settlement. Purple and orange streaks painted the sky, making the rocky landscape look almost beautiful. Marcus had lived here his whole life, but he never got tired of the sunsets. They reminded him that even in this harsh place, there could be moments of wonder. As he took a shortcut through the old industrial district, Marcus heard something that made him stop. It was a low, rumbling sound like distant thunder, but the sky was clear. He listened more carefully and realized it wasn't thunder at all. It sounded like something was in pain. Marcus followed the sound down a narrow alley between two abandoned warehouses. The buildings cast long shadows, making it hard to see. He pulled out his small flashlight and clicked it on. The beam of light revealed nothing at first, just old shipping containers and rusted machinery. Then he saw it. At the far end of the alley, curled up behind a pile of metal scraps, was something that shouldn't exist. Marcus had seen pictures in his school books, but those were just stories. Fantasy tales from old Earth. Dragons weren't real. They couldn't be real. But there it was. The creature was massive, easily 20 feet long from nose to tail. Its scales were a deep emerald green that seemed to shimmer even in the dim light. Two enormous wings were folded against its sides, and a long neck curved down so its head rested on the ground. Steam rose from its nostrils with each labored breath. Marcus should have run. Every instinct in his body told him to turn around and get as far away as possible. This was a dragon, the most feared predator in known space. The Galactic Alliance had entire fleets dedicated to hunting them down. They were supposed to be unstoppable killing machines that could melt steel with their breath and tear apart starships with their claws. But this dragon looked different. Its ribs showed through its scales. Its eyes, which should have glowed with fierce intelligence, were dim and unfocused. When it noticed Marcus, it didn't roar or breathe fire. Instead, it made a soft whimpering sound. The dragon was starving. Marcus took a careful step closer. The creature's head lifted slightly, and their eyes met. In those ancient golden eyes, Marcus saw something he never expected to see in a dragon. He saw fear. He saw desperation. He saw a plea for help. "Hey there," Marcus whispered, his voice shaking slightly. "You don't look so good." The dragon's head tilted as if it understood him. That was impossible, of course. Dragons were supposed to be mindless beasts driven only by hunger and aggression. At least that's what the Alliance propaganda said. Marcus remembered the bread in his grocery bag. It was just a simple loaf his mother had asked him to pick up for dinner. Nothing special. But the dragon was looking at the bag with such desperate hunger that Marcus felt his heart break. "Are you hungry?" he asked, knowing how silly the question was. Of course it was hungry. It looked like it hadn't eaten in weeks. Slowly, carefully, Marcus reached into his bag and pulled out the bread. The dragon's eyes followed his every movement. When Marcus held up the loaf, the creature made that soft whimpering sound again. Marcus had heard the stories. Dragons were supposed to eat only meat, preferably fresh from their still-living prey. They were supposed to consider anything else beneath them. But this dragon was looking at that simple loaf of bread like it was the most precious thing in the universe. "Okay," Marcus said, tearing off a piece of the bread. "Let's see if you want this." He tossed the piece toward the dragon, making sure to keep his distance. The creature's head snapped forward with surprising speed, catching the bread before it hit the ground. Marcus watched in amazement as the fearsome predator chewed the simple human food with obvious relief. "You really are starving, aren't you?" Marcus said softly. He tore off another piece and threw it closer this time. Again, the dragon caught it eagerly. As Marcus continued to feed it small pieces of bread, he noticed something remarkable happening. The dragon's eyes were getting brighter. Its breathing was becoming less labored. It was as if the simple act of eating was bringing it back to life. When the bread was gone, the dragon looked at Marcus with those golden eyes again. But this time, there was no fear in them. There was something else, something that looked almost like gratitude. "I wish I had more," Marcus said. "But that's all I've got right now." The dragon lowered its massive head until it was almost touching the ground in front of Marcus. It was a gesture that seemed impossibly humble for such a powerful creature. Marcus realized the dragon was bowing to him. That's when he heard the voices. "The scanner readings are coming from this direction. Keep your weapons ready. If it's really a dragon, we might only get one shot. Remember, the Alliance bounty is 2 million credits for a confirmed kill." Marcus felt his blood turn to ice. Alliance bounty hunters. They must have detected the dragon somehow and tracked it here. If they found it in this condition, weak and defenseless, they would kill it without hesitation. He looked at the dragon, which had heard the voices too. The creature's eyes were wide with terror now. It tried to stand but stumbled, still too weak from hunger to properly move. Marcus made a decision that would change everything. "This way," he whispered urgently to the dragon. "There's a loading dock on the other side of this building. It leads to the old mining tunnels." The dragon looked at him with confusion and hope. Marcus couldn't believe what he was doing, but he couldn't just let them kill it. Not after seeing the intelligence in those eyes, not after the way it had bowed to him in gratitude. "Come on," Marcus said, waving for the dragon to follow. "I know these streets better than any Alliance hunter." The voices were getting closer. Marcus could see the glow of their weapon lights reflecting off the warehouse walls. The dragon struggled to its feet, moving slowly but with determination. Marcus led the way through the maze of abandoned buildings, using every shortcut and hidden passage he had learned growing up in this forgotten corner of the colony. Behind them, he could hear the hunters spreading out, their boots echoing off the metal walls. They were professional, organized, and well-armed. But Marcus had something they didn't. He had a lifetime of exploring every nook and cranny of Haven's Rest. They reached the old loading dock just as the hunters entered the alley where the dragon had been hiding. Marcus quickly activated the heavy door controls, and the massive portal began to slide open. Beyond it lay the entrance to the abandoned mining tunnels that honeycombed the mountains. "In here," Marcus whispered. "They'll never find you in the deep tunnels." The dragon paused at the threshold, looking back at Marcus with those incredible golden eyes. Then, to Marcus's amazement, the creature spoke. "Why?" The voice was deep and resonant, like the rumble of distant thunder. It was the voice of an ancient intelligence, far older and wiser than Marcus had ever imagined. Marcus was so shocked he could barely speak. "You can talk?" "Why did you help me?" the dragon asked again, ignoring his question. "Your kind hunts mine. We are enemies." Marcus thought about it for a moment, listening to the hunters getting closer. "You were hungry," he said finally, "and you asked for help. That's enough." The dragon stared at him for a long moment, as if trying to understand something incomprehensible. Then it nodded its great head. "I am called Drakmor," the dragon said. "I will remember your kindness, human child." "Marcus," he replied. "My name is Marcus." "Marcus," Drakmor repeated, as if testing the name. "We will meet again." With that, the dragon disappeared into the tunnels. Marcus quickly closed the loading dock door just as the hunters rounded the corner. "Hey, kid!" one of them shouted. "Did you see anything unusual around here?" Marcus tried to look casual as he picked up his now empty grocery bag. "Just heading home from the market," he said. "What are you guys looking for?" The lead hunter, A stern woman with Alliance military markings studied him suspiciously. "Dangerous alien wildlife. Our scanners detected something big in this area." "Sorry," Marcus shrugged. "Haven't seen anything. Just a lot of old junk and rust." The hunters spent another hour searching the area, but they found nothing. Their scanners couldn't penetrate the dense rock of the mountain tunnels. Eventually, they gave up and left to search other parts of the colony. Marcus walked home slowly, his mind reeling from what had just happened. He had not only met a real dragon, but he had talked to one. He had helped it escape from hunters who would have killed it for money, and somehow he knew this was only the beginning. When he got home, his mother asked where the bread was. Marcus told her he had dropped it and it had gotten dirty. She scolded him for being careless, but gave him money to go buy another loaf the next day. That night, Marcus lay in bed staring at the ceiling. He couldn't stop thinking about Drakmore's golden eyes and the intelligence he had seen there. Everything he had been taught about dragons was wrong. They weren't mindless beasts. They were something else entirely. He also couldn't stop thinking about what Drakmore had said. "We will meet again." Marcus had the feeling that when they did, everything would change. Outside his window, the twin moons of Haven's Rest cast their pale light across the mountains. Somewhere deep in those rocky tunnels, an ancient dragon was hiding. And tomorrow, Marcus would have to figure out what to do about it. He fell asleep with questions swirling through his mind. What was Drakmore? Why had it been starving? Where had it come from? And most importantly, what did it want? Marcus didn't know it yet, but he was about to become part of something much bigger than a simple act of kindness. He was about to discover that everything humanity thought it knew about dragons, about the war, about their place in the galaxy, was built on lies. And it all started with a loaf of bread and a boy who chose compassion over fear. The dragon's truth. Marcus couldn't concentrate on anything the next day. During his classes at the colony school, his mind kept wandering back to the dragon in the tunnels. When his teacher asked him about the mineral composition of the local mountains, he stammered through an answer while thinking about golden eyes and ancient voices. At lunch, he sat with his best friend Sarah, picking at his sandwich without really eating it. Sarah noticed his distraction immediately. "You look like you've seen a ghost," she said, biting into her apple. "What's wrong?" Marcus wanted to tell her. Sarah was smart and trustworthy, and they had shared secrets before. But how could he explain that he had met a dragon? She would think he had lost his mind. "Just tired," he said. "Didn't sleep well." Sarah studied his face with the sharp intelligence that made her the top student in their class. "This is about more than being tired. You look like you're carrying the weight of the world." She wasn't wrong. Marcus felt like he was carrying a massive secret that could change everything. But he also felt responsible for Drakmore's safety. The dragon was hiding somewhere in those tunnels, probably still hungry and weak. Marcus had to help, but he didn't know how. After school, Marcus made an excuse to his mother about studying at the library and instead headed to the market. He used his own savings to buy bread, dried meat, and some fruit. The shopkeeper looked at him strangely when he bought so much food, but Marcus just said it was for a school project. Finding a way back to the tunnels without being seen was harder than he had expected. The Alliance hunters were still in the colony, asking questions and scanning for any trace of their target. Marcus had to take several detours and wait in hiding spots until they passed. Finally, as the sun was setting, he made it back to the old loading dock. He activated the door controls and slipped inside, carrying his bag of food. The tunnels stretched out before him, dark and silent. "Drakmore," he called softly. His voice echoed off the rock walls. "Are you here?" For a moment, there was no response. Then Marcus heard the soft scrape of claws on stone, and the dragon emerged from the deeper shadows. In the dim light filtering through the doorway, Drakmore looked even more magnificent than Marcus remembered. The dragon's scales seemed to catch and reflect every photon of light, creating an almost magical shimmer. "You returned," Drakmor said, his deep voice filled with what sounded like surprise. "I brought food," Marcus said, setting down his bag. "Real food this time, not just bread." Drakmor approached slowly, his massive form moving with careful grace. "Why do you continue to help me? You gain nothing from this act." Marcus pulled out the dried meat and threw a piece toward the dragon. Drakmor caught it and ate it gratefully, but his golden eyes never left Marcus's face. "Maybe that's exactly why," Marcus said, "because I don't gain anything from it." The dragon tilted his head, considering this answer. "Your kind is not known for such selfless acts, at least not toward mine." "What do you mean?" Marcus asked, settling down on a piece of broken concrete. "I don't understand what's happening here. I thought dragons were just animals, dangerous ones, but still animals." Drakmor's eyes flashed with something that might have been anger. "Animals? Is that what they teach your younglings? The Alliance says dragons are the most dangerous predators in known space," Marcus said carefully. "They say you destroy everything you touch and can't be reasoned with." To Marcus's surprise, Drakmor let out a sound that might have been laughter, though it was bitter and sad. "Of course they do. It makes their genocide much easier to justify." Genocide? Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. Drakmor settled down across from Marcus, folding his wings carefully around his body. "Tell me, young Marcus, what do you know of the true history of the galaxy?" "I know the Alliance was formed to protect civilized worlds from threats like dragons. There was a great war, and the Alliance won. Now they keep the peace." "A pretty story," Drakmor said. "But like most pretty stories, it is built on lies." The dragon's eyes grew distant, as if he was looking back across centuries. "We were not always enemies, your kind and mine. There was a time when humans and dragons worked together among the stars." Marcus felt his understanding of the world shifting. "That's impossible. Dragons are, what, monsters, beasts?" Drakmor's voice was patient but sad. "We are the eldest children of the galaxy, Marcus. We have traveled between the stars since before your species learned to make fire. We are explorers, philosophers, guardians of ancient knowledge." "But the attacks on human colonies?" "Self-defense," Drakmor said firmly. "When the Alliance declared war on us without provocation, when they began hunting us like animals, we fought back. What else could we do?" Marcus tried to process this information. Everything he had been taught was wrong. Why would the Alliance lie about something like this? Drakmor was quiet for a long moment, eating another piece of meat. When he spoke again, his voice was heavy with grief. "Because we were in their way. Dragons live for thousands of years, Marcus. We remember things that others would prefer forgotten. We know the locations of ancient technologies, lost worlds, resources beyond imagination. The Alliance wanted those secrets, but we refused to give them up. So they decided to take them by force? They tried diplomacy first. They offered us partnership, trade agreements, cultural exchanges. But what they really wanted was to turn us into their servants. When we refused, they declared us a threat to galactic peace and began their campaign of extermination." Marcus felt sick to his stomach. "How many of you are left?" "Few," Drakmor said simply. "Perhaps 100 scattered across the galaxy, maybe less. We were never numerous, and the Alliance has been very thorough in their hunting." "Is that why you were starving? Because you're being hunted?" Drakmor nodded. "I have been running for 3 months. My last safe haven was destroyed by Alliance forces. I barely escaped, but I was wounded and weak. By the time I reached your world, I had nothing left." Marcus thought about the bounty hunters who had come so close to finding Drakmor. 2 million credits for a confirmed kill. It was more money than most colonists would see in their entire lives. "What were you before this war?" Marcus asked. "I mean, what did dragons do when you weren't running for your lives?" A light came back into Drakmore's eyes. "We were teachers, explorers, guardians of knowledge. Each dragon was responsible for protecting certain secrets, certain technologies that could be dangerous in the wrong hands. We shared our wisdom with worthy species, helped guide younger civilizations toward enlightenment." "What kind of secrets?" Drakmore was quiet for a moment, studying Marcus carefully. "Are you certain you wish to know? Some knowledge, once learned, cannot be unknown." Marcus felt a thrill of fear and excitement. "Yes, I want to know." "We knew how to heal any disease, how to extend life indefinitely. We knew the locations of worlds where time itself moves differently, where a day might equal a century elsewhere. We knew how to build ships that could cross the galaxy in hours rather than years." Drakmore's voice grew softer. "We knew how to create new stars, and how to prevent old ones from dying." Marcus stared at the dragon in awe. "That's incredible. Why wouldn't you share that with everyone?" "Because not everyone is ready for such power," Drakmore said gravely. "Your alliance, for instance. They would use star creation technology as a weapon. They would use life extension to create an immortal ruling class. They would use faster-than-light travel to spread their control across every corner of the galaxy. So you kept it secret to protect people from their own leaders?" "We tried to. But secrets have a way of being discovered, especially when people are willing to commit genocide to learn them." Marcus was beginning to understand the true scope of what was happening. This wasn't just about one starving dragon. This was about a war being fought over knowledge that could reshape the entire galaxy. "Is that why you're here?" Marcus asked. "On Haven's Rest? Are you protecting some secret here?" Drakmore's expression grew troubled. "Not protecting, seeking. There is something here that I need to find before the Alliance does. Something that could end this war, one way or another." "What is it?" "A data core. Hidden by one of my kind centuries ago, before the war began. It contains the complete records of our civilization, including the locations of our greatest treasures and our most dangerous secrets." Marcus felt his pulse quicken. "The Alliance is looking for it too?" "They suspect it exists, but they do not know where. That is why the bounty hunters are here. They hope to capture me alive and force me to reveal its location." "Do you know where it is?" Drakmore nodded slowly. "I believe so, but I am too weak to retrieve it safely. The hiding place is deep in the mountain, in chambers that were sealed with dragon fire. Only one of my kind can open them, and I barely have the strength to stand." Marcus looked at the dragon's weakened condition and made another decision that surprised even him. "What if I helped you? I know these mountains better than any Alliance hunter. I could guide you there safely." Drakmore stared at him in amazement. "You would do this? Knowing that it puts you in terrible danger? Knowing that the Alliance would consider you a traitor to your own species?" Marcus thought about it for a moment. He thought about the lies he had been told, about the genocide being committed in humanity's name, about the ancient wisdom being lost forever because of greed and fear. "Maybe it's time someone stood up to the Alliance," he said. "Maybe it's time humans remembered what it means to do the right thing, even when it's dangerous." Drakmore was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was filled with something Marcus had never heard before. It was hope. "There is something you must understand," Drakmore said. "If we do this, if we recover the data core, everything will change. The Alliance will not stop hunting us. They will hunt you too. Your life as you know it will be over." Marcus thought about his quiet life on Haven's Rest, his school, his friends, his family. He thought about the simple future he had planned, working in the mines like his father, maybe starting a family of his own someday. Then he thought about Drakmore's golden eyes, about the intelligence and wisdom he had seen there. He thought about a galaxy where such magnificent beings were hunted to extinction for the crime of protecting dangerous knowledge from those who would abuse it. "Some things are more important than a safe life," Marcus said. Drakmore extended one massive claw toward Marcus. "Then we are partners, young human, and I swear to you, whatever happens, you will be under my protection for as long as I live." Marcus reached out and touched the dragon's claw. It was warm and smooth, like polished stone. In that moment, he felt a connection form between them, something deeper than mere friendship. It was a bond forged in mutual respect and shared purpose. "When do we start?" Marcus asked. "Tomorrow night," Drakmore said. "The hunters will be less active then, and the darkness will hide our movements. But first, you must promise me something." "What?" "If we are discovered, if it becomes clear that we cannot escape, you must run. Do not try to help me. Do not try to save me. Just run and never look back." Marcus wanted to argue, but he saw the seriousness in Drakmore's eyes. "I promise." "Good. Now go home. Rest. Tomorrow we will attempt something that has not been tried in centuries. A human and a dragon, working together as allies." As Marcus walked home through the dark streets of Haven's Rest, he felt like he was living in a dream. Yesterday, he had been an ordinary colony kid with an ordinary future. Now he was planning to help the last of an ancient race recover treasures that could change the fate of the galaxy. He also knew that Drakmore was right about one thing. After tomorrow night, nothing would ever be the same. The dawn of change. Marcus barely slept that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw golden dragon eyes and imagined alliance hunters breaking down his door. But when morning came, everything seemed normal. His parents went about their usual routines, completely unaware that their son was planning to help a dragon steal ancient secrets from under the noses of galactic authorities. At school, Marcus found it impossible to focus. During history class, when the teacher talked about the Alliance's victory over the dragon menace, Marcus had to bite his tongue to keep from speaking up. The propaganda felt different now that he knew the truth. Every word about dragon savagery and Alliance heroism made him angry. Sarah noticed his distraction again at lunch. "Okay, something is definitely wrong with you," she said, sitting down across from him. "You look like you haven't slept in a week and you've been acting weird for days." Marcus looked at his best friend and made a decision that would change her life too. "Can you keep a secret? I mean, really keep it, no matter what?" Sarah's eyes widened. "Marcus, you're scaring me. What's going on?" Marcus looked around the cafeteria, making sure no one was listening. Then he leaned forward and whispered, "Everything we've been taught about dragons is a lie." For the next 10 minutes, Marcus told Sarah everything. About finding Drakmore, about the true history of the Dragon-Human War, about the mission planned for that night. Sarah listened in stunned silence, her sandwich forgotten in her hands. When Marcus finished, Sarah was quiet for a long moment. "You're serious?" she said finally. "You're actually serious?" "Dead serious." "Marcus, this is insane. You're talking about treason. You're talking about helping a dragon steal Alliance property. I'm talking about helping the rightful owner reclaim something that was never the Alliance's to begin with." Sarah shook her head. "Even if everything you're saying is true, this is way too dangerous. You could get killed. Or worse, you could get your whole family arrested." Marcus had thought about this all night. "Sarah, if we don't do something, Drakmore will die, and with him will die thousands of years of knowledge that could help everyone. The Alliance doesn't want to protect people, they want to control them. So what are you asking me to do? I need your help. You're the smartest person I know. and you understand technology better than anyone our age. If we find this data core, we might need someone who can figure out how to access it safely." Sarah stared at him for a long moment. "You want me to come with you? Tonight? To help a dragon break into some ancient vault?" "Yes." "This is crazy." "I know." "We could die." "I know." Sarah was quiet for another moment. Then she sighed. "What time tonight?" Marcus felt a surge of relief. "You'll help? I'm probably going to regret this for the rest of my life. But yes, I'll help." Sarah's expression grew serious. "But I want to meet this dragon first. I want to see for myself that he's what you say he is." "Deal." That evening, Marcus and Sarah made their way to the old loading dock. Marcus had told his parents he was sleeping over at Sarah's house, and Sarah had told her parents she was staying with Marcus. It was a trick they had used before for late-night adventures, though nothing as dangerous as this. When they reached the tunnels, Drakmor was waiting for them. In the dim light, the dragon looked even more impressive than before. His scales caught what little illumination there was and seemed to glow with their own inner light. Sarah froze when she saw him, her hand instinctively reaching for Marcus's arm. "Oh my God," she whispered. "He's real. He's actually real." Drakmor studied the girl with his ancient eyes. "You brought another," he said to Marcus. "This is Sarah. She's my best friend, and she's brilliant with technology. If we find the data core, we might need her skills to access it." Drakmor turned his attention to Sarah, who was still staring at him in amazement. "Are you prepared for what this night may bring, young human? Are you prepared to learn truths that may change your understanding of everything you believe?" Sarah swallowed hard, but managed to find her voice. "Yes, sir. Yes, Drakmor." The dragon's expression might have been a smile. "Courage and intelligence. Good qualities for what lies ahead." He turned to Marcus. "Are you ready?" Marcus nodded. He had prepared as best he could, bringing rope, flashlights, and some basic climbing gear from his father's mining equipment. "Where are we going?" "Deep into the mountain, to chambers that have been sealed since before your colony was established." Drakmor began moving toward the deeper tunnels. "Follow closely and try to move quietly. Sound carries far in these passages." They walked for what felt like hours through a maze of natural and artificial tunnels. Some passages were clearly part of the old mining operation, with metal supports and electric cables. Others were natural caves that felt much older. Drakmor led them with confidence, as if he had memorized every turn. As they went deeper, the air grew cooler and Marcus noticed something strange. The rock walls in some areas were smooth and glassy, as if they had been melted and reformed. "Dragon fire," Drakmor explained when Marcus asked. "My kind shaped these passages centuries ago." "How old are you?" Sarah asked, speaking for the first time since they had entered the tunnels. "Old enough to remember when humans first reached for the stars," Drakmor replied. "Old enough to remember when your kind still believed in magic and wonder." Finally, they reached a chamber unlike any of the others. The walls were covered in intricate patterns that seemed to shift and move in the light of their flashlights. At the far end of the chamber stood what looked like a massive door, but it was made of the same glassy material as the tunnel walls. "There," Drakmor said. "Behind that barrier lies what we seek." Marcus and Sarah approached the door cautiously. It was covered in symbols that hurt to look at directly, as if they were designed to discourage casual observation. "How do we open it?" Marcus asked. "Dragon fire," Drakmor said simply. "Only the flame of my kind can unseal what was sealed by dragon fire." The dragon approached the barrier and took a deep breath. When he exhaled, it wasn't the explosive flame that Marcus had expected from the stories. Instead, a steady stream of golden fire flowed from Drakmor's mouth, wrapping around the symbols on the door. The ancient writing began to glow and shift, rearranging itself into new patterns. Slowly, with a sound like breaking glass, the barrier began to dissolve. Beyond the door lay another chamber, smaller but filled with wonders. The walls were lined with crystal formations that pulsed with their own light. In the center of the room stood a pedestal holding a sphere of what looked like liquid starlight. "The data core," Drakmore said reverently. Sarah approached it carefully. Her scientific mind immediately engaged. "It's beautiful. What's it made of?" "Crystallized time," Drakmore said. "The memories and knowledge of my people, preserved in a medium that exists outside normal space-time." As Sarah examined the sphere, Marcus noticed something troubling. "Drakmore, you look exhausted. That fire took a lot out of you." The dragon nodded wearily. "I am spent. I have little strength left." That's when they heard the voices echoing from the tunnels behind them. "The scanner readings are getting stronger. Whatever we're tracking, it's close. Remember, the orders are to capture the dragon alive if possible, but don't take any chances. If it shows any sign of aggression, bring it down." Marcus felt his blood turn to ice. The Alliance hunters had found them. "How did they track us?" Sarah whispered. Drakmore's expression was grim. "The data core. When it was unsealed, it must have sent out some kind of signal. They were waiting for this." The voices were getting closer. Marcus could see the glow of their lights reflecting off the tunnel walls. "We need to run," Sarah said urgently. "No," Drakmore said firmly. "They are between us and the exit. We are trapped." Marcus looked around the chamber desperately. There had to be another way out. That's when he noticed something. The crystal formations on the walls weren't just decorative. They were arranged in patterns, like a complex machine. "Sarah, look at this. Do you think these crystals do something?" Sarah examined the formations quickly. "It's some kind of interface, but I can't read the symbols." "I can," Drakmore said. He was still weak from opening the door, but he managed to approach the wall. "It is an emergency system, a way to seal this chamber permanently, protecting what lies within." "That won't help us get out," Marcus said. "No," Drakmore agreed, "but it will ensure that the Alliance never gets what they came for." The voices were very close now. Marcus could hear boots on stone, getting louder with each second. "There has to be another way," Sarah said desperately. "Some other option." That's when Drakmore did something that changed everything. He picked up the data core from its pedestal and, to Marcus's amazement, swallowed it. "What are you doing?" Marcus gasped. "Protecting it," Drakmore said. "The knowledge of my people now lives within me. The Alliance cannot take it by force." "But that means they will have to keep me alive if they want access to it," Drakmore finished. The first hunter appeared at the chamber entrance, weapon raised. "Nobody move! Alliance authority!" More hunters poured into the chamber, their energy weapons trained on Drakmore. The lead hunter, the same woman Marcus had encountered before, stepped forward. "Well, well, a dragon and his human collaborators. This is quite a find." "We're not collaborators," Marcus said quickly. "We're just explorers. We found this place by accident." The hunter smiled coldly. "Save your lies for someone more gullible, boy. We've been monitoring your activities. We know you've been feeding this creature." Marcus felt a surge of anger. "His name is Drakmore, and he's not a creature. He's more intelligent than any of you will ever be." "Intelligence doesn't matter when it's wrapped in claws and fangs," the hunter replied. "Now step away from the dragon slowly." "No," Marcus said, surprising even himself. "I won't." Sarah moved to stand beside him. "Neither will I." The hunter raised an eyebrow. "Brave children. Stupid but brave. Very well. Stun the humans. We'll sort this out later." Before the hunters could fire, Drakmore spoke up. "Wait." His voice carried an authority that made everyone pause. I will surrender to you willingly without resistance, but only if you guarantee the safety of these children. You're hardly in a position to negotiate, the hunter said. Drakmore's eyes flashed with something dangerous. Am I not? Tell me, hunter, what do you know of dragon physiology? Enough to know how to kill you. But do you know what happens when a dragon dies violently? When their life force is released all at once? Drakmore's voice grew darker. The explosion would collapse these tunnels, burying us all. Your prize would be lost forever. The hunter's confidence wavered slightly. You're bluffing. Perhaps. But are you willing to bet your life on it? Are you willing to bet the success of your mission? There was a long, tense silence. Finally, the hunter lowered her weapon slightly. What do you propose? Safe passage for the children. Let them return to their homes, and I will come with you peacefully. No. Marcus stepped forward. I won't let you sacrifice yourself for us. Drakmore looked at him with those ancient, wise eyes. This is not sacrifice, young friend. This is strategy. The knowledge I carry cannot be taken by force. It can only be shared willingly. You mean? I mean that whoever holds me prisoner will soon discover that dragons are not easily broken, and perhaps in time they will learn that there are other ways to gain what they seek. The hunter considered this. You'll cooperate? Submit to questioning? I will submit to conversation, Drakmore said carefully. True dragons do not break under torture, but we can sometimes be persuaded by wisdom and respect. It wasn't the complete victory the hunters wanted, but it was more than they had expected. After several minutes of discussion among themselves, they agreed to Drakmore's terms. As the hunters prepared to leave with their prisoner, Drakmore managed a brief moment alone with Marcus and Sarah. This is not the end, he said quietly. It is the beginning. What we have started tonight will echo across the galaxy. How? Marcus asked desperately. You have seen the truth. You know what really happened here. That knowledge will spread, as truth always does. And someday, when the time is right, dragons and humans will stand together again among the stars. As they led Drakmore away, the ancient dragon turned back one last time. Remember me, Marcus. Remember what you learned tonight. And when the opportunity comes to change the galaxy, do not hesitate. Marcus and Sarah were escorted back to the colony under guard, but they were released after brief questioning. The official story was that they had stumbled upon an alliance operation by accident and were merely witnesses. But Marcus knew the truth. They had been part of something much larger. They had helped preserve the last remnant of an ancient civilization, even if it was now in the hands of their enemies. In the weeks that followed, strange things began happening across the galaxy. Dragons who had been hiding in the deepest corners of space began to emerge. They didn't attack or threaten anyone. Instead, they began to share small pieces of their knowledge with other species who showed wisdom and compassion. Rumors spread of technologies that could heal incurable diseases, of peaceful worlds that had achieved perfect harmony with their environments, of discoveries that promised to revolutionize understanding of the universe itself. The Alliance tried to suppress these rumors, but they spread too quickly across too many worlds. People began to ask questions about the true history of the Dragon War. Some even began to demand answers. Marcus continued his normal life on Haven's Rest, but everything was different now. He knew that somewhere in an Alliance prison, Drakmore was playing a long game, slowly teaching his captors that there were better ways to gain knowledge than through force and fear. And Marcus knew that someday, when the galaxy was ready, the truth would finally come to light. Humans and dragons would remember their ancient friendship. The war would end not in victory or defeat, but in understanding. It all began with a simple act of kindness, a loaf of bread offered to someone in need. But kindness, Marcus had learned, was the most powerful force in the universe. It could change hearts, topple empires, and unite species across the vast expanse of space. The age of fear was ending. The age of wonder was about to begin. And Marcus had helped make it possible.